Bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong. This is Joe, the bearded historian. He'll tell you an interesting story. Be careful of his soldiers, they can be brats. This is Angel, she's an entity. She'll cause chaos and plant her hands at you. This is Sue, she likes spirits, not the alcohol. She's the reason this channel exists. This is David, he likes fire trucks. He's here occasionally. Bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong, bing bongy bong. We preserve his story. Okay, Mr. Bud, tell him what we're doing.
Oh, we're in the Bud Files. We're on location at Mount Rushmore in Rapid City, South Dakota. Technical Keystone, South Dakota.
We're not in Rapid.
Yeah. We left Rapid with 40 degrees. We come up here, it's now 30 degrees. It's snowing.
In some areas.
I need another grandpa.
Of course you do. Tell Dad to unlock the car. Angel's been hurting herself for reasons. Mostly accidentally. We're going to do an on-site back Wednesday, and we're going to do something about this dumb button.
Yeah.
There.
When I was doing some reading on the Mount Rushmore and the history behind it, and one of the first interesting tidbits was that apparently the Four Faces was not the original idea that they had for Mount Rushmore. Besides the fact that there also was other names for it besides Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore, interestingly enough, was the name of a wealthy investor who came from, I think it was New York, a guy named Charles Rushmore, who incidentally made the joke, maybe I'll have a mountain named after me while I'm here. And that's what happened in 1930. They called it Mount Rushmore. It used to be known as Six Grandfathers, Slaughterhouse Hill, Keystone Cliffs.
That's reassuring.
No, go back to Slaughterhouse. You're not saying that and then just like skipping over that like that's nothing. Why was it called? I want Slaughterhouse Hill back. That sounds cooler than boring Mount Rushmore. I want Slaughterhouse Hill.
They also had the idea of putting Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea across the front of it.
Oh, they should have
They
done
thought
that.
about doing Sitting Bull, Red Cloud. Finally, Gutzon Borglum, the guy who started sculpting and carving it, came up with the idea of the four presidents. So we're going to be airing this on Wednesday, but this week is also President's Day. So this is one of two events that we'll have this week.
They should have done the other people. They deserved that more.
It was an interesting concept. Of course, we also now have Crazy Horse being built on a hill to the south now.
That will never get finished.
No, not
it
in our
will never
lifetime.
get finished.
No. Maybe not even Angel's lifetime. It's been going on for so long.
doubt that.
I don't think it'll ever be finished. Nope.
But interesting enough, Gutzon Borglum, this was his second mega project. His first one was located down in Georgia. You might know it as Stone Mountain.
I have
They were
no
doing
idea what
some,
that is.
Some carvings of several Civil War Confederate generals.
Interesting.
And due to an argument and disagreement that they had, he left the site and smashed his own sculpture work.
We don't have to pay, do we?
No.
Okay. I just was wondering whether it was a pay thingy when we did that other thingy. So.
Please bring your ticket to one of the pay stations and we'll locate your part to leave, apparently. Maybe there's a code on it or something.
Oh, well, that's in the car, so that's cool. All right, I'm going to stop the intro until we get up to the thingy.
I still like the house. I still like the name Slaughterhouse House.
I have to wonder why it was called Slaughterhouse House.
Because they slaughtered a bunch of people to make America.
No, that would make America Slaughterhouse, not just one place.
Slaughterhouse. It deserves to be called Slaughterhouse.
Well, the original Mount Rushmore, before they did all this concrete work, interestingly enough, it was just two rings of parking seats where people could park, get out, walk up to Mount Rushmore. Then about
Yes.
97 or 98, somebody decided that's a lot of concrete.
He said we needed more parking, which we kind of did. Happy President's Day, everybody. And there is a bit of a blooper at the beginning of this video, just so you know. I'm a genius. Ready? Here we go. Shout out time. Here's a shout out just for you. You support me, so I support you. This shout out is for our friends. Let's see what the duckies say. Maybe. Oh, paused it. No, I didn't. Okay, there we go. Now, I had all the slots filled, but unfortunately, I forgot to copy and paste it, and this one erases it. And I apparently forgot to set it for a minute, but that's okay. We've got Surfer. So, hang on. Okay. Pack openings, both cards, and no smudge collectibles. To all awesome subs, both new and old, I really appreciate you and everyone, which is always awesome. Looks like at 1100. No. 1.15k. I can read. So check them out, like, share, comment, let them know we sent you by. Have a good day.
Which is where I can go and take
No smoking, no dogs beyond this point. And, of course, it's windy, and there's a few snowflakes. I don't know if you guys can see them or not, but there are a few snowflakes. Apparently. Oh, wow. But I have my doubts.
You have high doubts on that?
I have high doubts on that.
Squirrels.
That's a chipmunk, isn't it?
Yep. Chipmunks, red squirrels, and numerous birds. This is a general layout of how the mountain is set up now. We're all the way down here at the information center. There's one ring of buildings with cafes, a gift shop. Up here is the Grand View Terrace, which is a pretty cool sight to see straight up the mountain with. There's also trails off on the sides and a sculptor studio off on the other side over here. So depending on how far and all we want to walk. Right?
How ambitious we feel.
Right. Of course, after Vincent Vargo passed away, his son worked up as much as he could. They were originally supposed to go from the waist up, but ran out of funding in 1941.
I don't think it would have worked very well either way. Nebula? Nice.
Audio tour available all year. You also have a lighting in the evening. Sunset until 9 p.m. That's kind of wild when they fire up the lights.
Got a few snowflakes. I don't know if you guys can see them because they're very small and very random.
It's also going to be a fun game of how many times is the camera going to pan over to Angel and you just see her looking at her comic book instead. Several times.
Should we have them do a count?
Could be fun.
Them to do a challenge.
If you take a guess how many times the camera's gonna pan on me, and I'm gonna be focusing on the comic book. If you win, you get the first free membership when that's up and running.
Speaking of which, we're officially over 3,100.
I have half of the emojis done. I'm still trying to figure out what to do for the damn badges and stuff. Because I don't want to do something simple, but at the same time, I don't know what exactly to do for them.
I'd almost do... See, most of the...
You must have speakers during certain parts of the year.
Maybe. Most of the badges I've seen have been very simple. So I would do, like, something that's not as complex as the emojis. Like maybe a headstone for the graveyards we see.
Headstone ghost.
Yeah.
Though I was more so making those for the emojis because I have a ghost emoji, a fuck cacti emoji.
I'm just saying that the loyalty badges can be simpler. They can just be like a shape. Where the emojis tend to be more detailed. So if
They made their emojis detailed, I was going simple. Especially considering how goddamn tiny they are.
Well, you saw the few that I showed you, and I'm sure you've seen others. I can also show you a few more if you need more examples. But what I mean by detailed is that they have, like, I don't know, pirates and coins, and where the badges I've seen have been, like, mostly shapes, like stars, and one is a world. One's been like a cup of coffee.
Markiplier had the heart badges, didn't he?
Yeah.
That one game.
Yep, he did have the heart badges.
The faces look so ugly. I'm glad we managed to get prettier over time. If I had to look at that as...
I would say guess the states, but they say right underneath them, so.
Yeah. So ugly.
Most of them are very simple.
They also just kind of chose ugly colors.
You could just do a whole bunch of files for the loyalty badge. Like different,
File 2, file 3.
or like different colors.
I do different color files.
I mean, you can still do like numbers, but like the 1 month folder, 6 month folder, 12 month folder, 2 year folder, forever folder.
In my head, I went, Loki, can you please stop? And it got windier.
Also, you could do a Loki emoji.
I could. It would for Loki and Lady Athena.
Whether you do like a little figure of them or their animals.
True.
Since you do better with animals. But it's up to you. Oh, that wind is terrible.
Sure, stop. I'll give you an offering of cookies when I get back. You're crazy. My kid is somehow really excited to be here.
At least it's not as windy now. He seems to have been pleased by your... That's good news. Do we want to go that way?
It's so cold. I don't ever want to look at my comic.
Either that or we could try to find a place out of the wind for you to sit, and then you can look at your comic, and Dad can do his history piece. Oh, I guess this is not a... Well, that does that... Oh, trail is closed. Never mind. Probably because it's still snowy.
Yeah, we'll go out to the gift shop. You can sit there. She can bring your comic book, and I can tape my history that I've got.
No, I don't think you should do it indoors. Because you're going to interrupt people who are looking at the stuff inside. Best I could do is say sit on one of these benches. I was going to do it by the wall. But there's a lot of people over there, so unless we do it like way down there or down here where there aren't as many people, so that we can pan up at the faces occasionally as you're speaking. Oh, it's not as windy here. Okay, this actually could work. We'll just have to worry about people coming in and out, but... Pause this real quick. Alright, so we found a place out of the wind, and Joe's going to tell you what he knows.
Well, the primary start of construction on this was in 1927. Like we mentioned, got some more of them. They got out of Georgia, came up here, looked at a couple sites, and settled on the four presidents, basically because it gives 150 years worth of history of the United States going forward. Originally, he had several sculptures that he was working with. George Washington was the first. Now, they wanted to do Thomas Jefferson over here to the left, or his right. Unfortunately, they discovered that the quality of the rock wasn't sufficient to take and put another head up there, so they literally blasted it off the mountain and moved him to the other side. Then they started working on Thomas Jefferson on that side with Theodore Roosevelt and then Abraham Lincoln.
I always felt like Thomas Jefferson kind of got robbed because he's tucked back in there.
Yeah, he's like behind the ear, That is important. Yeah, get George out there. But yeah, originally their idea was that they were going to carve this all the way down to waist height. But in 1941, of course, World War II hadn't quite started yet here in America. It was already going wild in England.
Hang on.
In 1941, Betsy Barnum passed away due to an embolism. His son tried to take over the reins, but eventually, for federal purposes, they ran out of money. Now, the original work cost just shy of $1 million in 1941 money. That was about $17 million in our currency today, which is kind of, for that much work to be done, was one heck of a savings. I mean,
right.
Carving that big of a mountain nowadays, that's probably $2 billion worth of work.
Oh yeah, definitely, I agree.
Yeah. Now, on the other side of the thing, there was a hall that was built behind Mount Rushmore. You can see it from Google Earth. It's a large vault that they wanted to put things like the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and a few other key things.
As a National Treasure showed.
Exactly. Behind there. And it is built. They now have a case which has, I think, 16 plaques that is inside a teak box that's also encased in a titanium box that stores things back there. Unlike in National Treasure, it actually isn't legal to hike up there anymore unless, I think there's like 2 stipulations that you can use to bypass. One of them is you either have to be escorted up there by the National Park Service or be a congressman or a senator. And even that is kind of a limited guess if they would allow you. Now, let's see.
Everyone says Roosevelt.
Yeah, you can see the theater, the amphitheater. During certain parts of the year, this is where people will take the oath to become United States citizens. And
I didn't know that.
A pretty good event. Usually between 400 to 600 people attend. And usually it happens about 4 times a year. It's really kind of awesome. Some of the colleges will have their commencements here too.
I did not know that either.
Now, you can't see it from this angle, but one of the locations, the studio residence, is down back there behind the trees. And it's a decent hike. The trail is closed sadly right now because, well, snow. And then there's another studio out through the trees that way that sometime I want to go walk through too. But
I think I went to that one. I don't think I've been to this one. Or maybe I've been to this one and not that one. I've been to one of them, I think.
if you really want to get in trouble, go ahead and try to protest something on Mount Rushmore. Greenpeace did it one time when I was up here, and that was not a pretty experience because not only do you have the National Park Service rangers coming after you, they usually escort you out and take you down to Rapid City. You get in a cell with Bubba. And the guy eventually got sprung because he was able to post bail thanks to, I think it was Greenpeace that paid the bill. But yeah, they made the national news for that event, and they're like, are you going to do it again? Well, of course we are. You know, it's a national stage. You get all the attention in the world, not the good attention, but. And then of course there's also the double-edged sword of politics. The big problem with the politics of the matter is that depending on who is the one who is visiting Mount Rushmore, when Obama came here, he had all sorts of neat things to say about these 4 guys. You know, the fact that it's a neat monument, it represents people, all the things that they accomplished. And then Trump made his visit. And it was almost the exact opposite of the coin. Ping. But, you know, the thing is that you figure out how hard it took 400 guys, plus guts and boardroom, to carve that inside a mountain. And, you know, it's well designed, well built. They say that in about 1,000 years, the max it'll move is 1 inch. I mean, you'd have to, it's going to be here long after the humans are gone. But, and also to kill the rumor, the Respect Corporation, the ones that are in charge of maintaining Mount Rushmore, have absolutely said that there's no way a 5th head would fit up there.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. So Trump wouldn't make it, Roosevelt wouldn't make it. They did actually have an effort to get Susan B. Anthony put up there.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
But I can see why it wouldn't hold them. I also don't think it would have gone waist high if they tried, just because of the way the rock looks.
Yeah, especially that sweep down formation.
Right.
The one thing that I do remember when I was younger that they mentioned is that with the granite that they have, also some of the basalt compositions of the rock, I found out rock can actually rot. And it makes it very unstable for the purposes of hiking, carving, and stuff like that, which is another reason why the Theodore Roosevelt, the first one, was blown off the hill. They figured that there was going to be no way that they could complete it. I've seen pictures of it. It's kind of cool. If you look on Wikipedia or Google, you can find those first couple images, and it's like half done, and you're like, that's not going to make a full head. I'm sorry. But you can see where all the gravel and the loose tailings and stuff is still off the hilltop. But and of course, Bald Mountain sits behind this one. Bald Mountain is kind of irony because people have made the mistake of hiking on Bald Mountain. A thunderstorm comes along, and you know why it's called Bald Mountain, right?
No.
There's no trees up on Bald Mountain. You're a lightning rod. And yes, people have been killed on it for dumb reasons, but. This is one of our treasures. This is also one of the few locations in the United States that if you wanted to catch all 50 license plates, come here during the summer, you have a really, really good chance of catching them all in one day. The other place I can think of is probably Yellowstone, which is actually 460 miles that way.
And it's on the list.
8 to 10 hours away. But,
it's on the list.
Yeah. This was also an interesting little item that I learned is that back in the days of the yellow and black highway system, this was one of the stopovers that cut across the country before the interstate came through. And it covered Mount Rushmore, it covered Yellowstone, and it came out of Chicago. So, it's always been a very valid point. Also, the interesting item, the guy who originally came up with this idea wasn't Guts and Borglum.
Of course not.
He was the state historian, a guy named Doane Robinson. I got a couple books that he'd written, or assembled anyway, I should say.
He looked at it and said, it needs something.
Yeah. But they wanted something to be a good focal point for tourism, and, why not the...
Because really, this is all that draws people to South Dakota.
Oh yeah, you ask anybody where Mount Rushmore is, 95% can tell you. The other ones will say it's in South Carolina, you just roll your eyes and cover your... Oh, guy, please. Who are these idiots? Of course, recently they also had some people that thought of the idea that maybe they should just blow it off the mountain because it's so-called colonialism.
It's still part of our history, whether you like it or not.
I mean, they were presidents that
and
got us through some of the hardest times in the country's history.
And they did do some good things. I mean, they didn't all do good things, and I'm sure each of them did things that were stupid.
Oh yeah. But at the same time,
who hasn't?
Who would have been our general if not George Washington? Who would have wrote the Declaration of Independence without Thomas Jefferson? What would the country would have been like? I read that thing about Theodore Roosevelt. Interestingly enough, he lost both his wife and his mother on the same day.
That would suck.
And of course, Abraham Lincoln, got us through got us through the Civil War. So, each of them was a great president in their own way. But these are 4 of our early presidents, and a lot of history sits behind them. and not just a Hall of Records. Well, we have Goose reading her comic book. You got Joe and Sue who are shivering because of the cold temperatures we weren't expecting.
We should have known.
We should have known. You know, it started snowing on the way before we even got to Keystone. You saw this cloud out there by Reptile Gardens, and I'm like, that looks like fog. It wasn't fog. It was a snow cloud.
At least it's not snowing hard. It's just a little bit of a pitter patter.
Yeah, little spittle. But I think we'll head for the second part of our day taping. This has been the Bearded Historian on location at Mount Rushmore.
Wait.
Wait.
Say hi to Loki. Thank you.
Say goodbye to Loki.
Goodbye.